Huh? Okay. Hello, Zoom. Hi, Judy. Hi, Sarah, Madeline, Gabriel, Phyllis. Judy Robbins. I see you.
Judy who? I don't know.
Judy.
She said Judy.
Judy Robbins. Can you hear us, Judy?
Yes.
Good. Okay, great. Great.
I didn't have her name. That's why I didn't see
I was thinking about you. I was wondering if you were going to come this morning. So you're here Zooming.
it. And there's Sarah.
Good. Yes, there's Sarah.
Some of the people
Welcome, everyone.
and Ronnie.
We're just waiting for Gabrielle to come. So in the meantime, Sarah, sing something.
She's muted. We can't hear her.
I know. Well, if you want to unmute our friends on Zoom, Facebook, and Facebook not so much, but we can schmooze for a couple of minutes until Gabrielle gets here, and then we'll let her take a deep breath before we start.
Zoom can talk now.
Reclaim host. I don't know what that means. Can you unmute? No. There you go, Judy. Try now. No, we can't hear you.
No.
No? Nope. No. Right. It's cold in here. I don't get as cold as Rabbi Nico does. He was hot yesterday. Right. Well, I don't know if you saw Esther had her I think she was trying to tell him something, but it didn't work. When Rabbi Nico's hot, he's hot. I didn't mean that in a way.
Abraham and Sarah are there.
It's good to see you all. We are not reading Torah this morning, but it's still a morning service, so I'm wearing my talit. I hope you all are having a good Shavuot. I haven't had pasta and cheesecake in a long time. That was so good. It's really good. Well, whose fault is that?
And we had it for Torah study, too. Yeah, because Jake brought it and we made it.
Very nice.
Thing, and we put it on top. It was, oh,
Well, it's only 2 days for a holiday if you're celebrating 2 days.
no, that's
So,
not here and not in LA.
right. It's okay. We're glad you're here, and we served a light. I guess Rabbi Nico had not heard of the term continental breakfast so much, but continental breakfast is Danish and fruit, pretty much. So, yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you, Tammy, for hosting our continental breakfast. That was lovely. Thank you. So, good. Okay, that's great. Okay. You just let her. That's. You're right. Right. And then there's the story of the story of a mom that goes to wake up her son and the son says, I don't want to go to temple. She says, you have to go to temple. I don't want to go to temple. She says, you've got to go to temple. He says, I don't want to. She says, you're the rabbi. You have to go to temple. So. He couldn't. Yes, I know. Well, something similar. I'll do the Al Chet right now. So, a week ago, Friday night, there was a concert. I am a huge fan of John Denver's music, and there is a gentleman by the name of Jim Curry who is a John Denver tribute artist. He looks like John Denver. He sounds just like John Denver. And I go and watch him. I go to see him whenever I can when he's in the area. He lives in Upland. He's local. And so Friday night, he was doing a concert at the La Mirada Theater.
Oh, wow.
And I bought a ticket August 29th. That's how long ago I bought the ticket. And it was Friday night. And I had second row seats, second row center. It was a fabulous concert. He really is good. And I really wanted to post it on Facebook, but it's Friday night. It's like, I'm not going to post it. I'll hold back. It's okay. I'll suffer by myself. That's where I was last Friday night. I'm going to see him July 17th. He'll be in Altadena at this little coffee house, the coffee gallery in Altadena. So I'll see him there. I am a Jim Curry groupie, yes, I admit it. I do enjoy his music, and he does a beautiful job of interpreting John Denver's music. Good morning, Gabrielle. Chag Sameach.
She doesn't look like she's up yet.
Thanks. Wow, what a compliment. Yes,
No,
I
you
am
need to
awake.
say your eyes look tired.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention. Thank you. See,
We're here.
probably on the. Actually,
Oh, at least he left it in the room. So if anybody wants to go see Jim Curry with me, I'd be happy to take you with me. Yeah, being in La Mirada was nice and close. The theater holds almost 1,200 people, and it was a beautiful venue. And he had the La Mirada Philharmonic with him, and Lee Holdridge, who was the arranger of John Denver's music, all of his arrangements, Lee Holdridge was conducting. So that was kind of historic to be in the same space as Lee Holdridge, and some really talented musicians. So,
Before I turn my microphone on, this is my 4th service in 3 days.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm very happy to be here.
Yay, Gabrielle. All right.
So this is a festival weekday service. Isn't that fun? How often do we get to do that?
And we have a minion, so
And
we
We have a lot of
we do have a lot of people. We're very glad you're here
So we
to
can-
celebrate a holiday together.
I got the stand that's had a little too much.
Too much beer garden from last night. Last night was beautiful. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to invite you to join with us in any and all of our prayers, and you'll recognize much of it. And we will have an opportunity for some sharing before we get to the Yizkor prayers as well.
We begin our service on page 414, our Shacharit weekday service, with Modeh Ani lefanecha ruachai v'kayam. Modeh ani lefanecha ruachai v'kayam. Yalalalai shechazarta Binishmati bechamla rabba emunatecha shechazarta Binishmati bechamla rabba emunatecha.
Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history, our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of our holiday, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. We continue on page 224 with our daily blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given me free will. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah.
O Adonai our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you, by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to our people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai hamelamed Torah la'amo Yisrael. We are in English, bottom of page 432. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's parents, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all.
We continue on page 438, Baruch She'amar.
And this is going to sound weird because this is weekday nusach, not Shabbat nusach. So this is the melody that we use when it's not Shabbat. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu, Baruch ha'aseh v'reshit, Baruch omer v'oseh, Baruch gozeh u'mekayem, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch mishalem sachatov lirehav, Baruch chai la'ad, v'kayam lanetzach, Baruch podeh u'matzil, Baruch Shemot. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, for you are the source of life in the universe. One God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal batishbachot.
Ashrei, page 442.
Ashrei yoshvei ve'techa, od yalelucha sela.
Ashrei
ha'am shekacha lo, ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohav. Tehillah leDavid, arumimcha Elohai hamelech, v'barecha shimcha le'olam ba'ed.
B'chol yom avochecha,
v'halelah shimcha le'olam ba'ed. Gadol Adonai u'mehulal me'od, b'li gdulato ein cheker. דור לדור ישבח מעשיך, וגבורותיך יגידו. הדר כבוד הודיך, בדברי נפלאותיך אשיך. ועזוז נורותיך יאמרו, וגדולתך אספרנה. זכר רב טובך יביעו, בצדקתך ירננו. חנון ברחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדול חסד. טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו. יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך. כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, גבורתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו, וכבוד אדם מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיניך אליך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו.
פותח את ידיך, ומשביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קרב, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון ירב יעשה, בעת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל רשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם. הללויה.
הללו, הללו, הללו.
הללו, הללו, הללו. הללו, הללו, הללו. הללו, הללו, הללו. כל הנשמה תהלליה. הללו, הללויה. כל הנשמה תהלליה. הללו, hallelujah. We continue on page 450, Yishtabach, as we end the introductory prayers of our morning service.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל מחלתו וקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, להזכירך נעים לנעים. ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלכתו בתשבחות, אל הדעות אדון הנפלאות, הבחר בשירי זמרה, מלכי העולמים. חצי קדש, page 451. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעמל דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי.
בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך,
יתברך וישבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה.
בריחו
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה.
תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה, ואמרו Amen. Baruch Hu on page 452.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
You may be seated. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy, you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness, you daily renew our creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom, you formed them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai, our God, for the excellent work of your hands and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot.
Amen.
We think about God's love. With love, God gave us Torah. With love, God allowed us to take Torah into the world and to make its teachings our own. And as we approach the Shema, we think about that oneness, that magnificence, that beyond the ability to understand. And we take a deep breath. And just as God is bigger than anything we can ever imagine, we know also that God is one. We turn to the Shema, page 458.
Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'amo Yisrael ba'ahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
We continue with the Ve'ahavta, page 460.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We are in English, middle of page 462. Adonai said to Moses as follows, "Speak to the Israelite people and instruct them to make for themselves fringes on the corners of their garments throughout the ages. Let them attach a cord of blue to the fringe at each corner. That shall be your fringe. Look at it and recall all the commandments of Adonai and observe them, so you do not follow your heart and eyes in your lustful urge. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת ויציב אהובה וכן ישן דור ודור. High and exalted, great and awesome God ever humbles the proud, raises the lowly, frees the imprisoned, redeems the afflicted, helps the oppressed, answering our people when we cry out. Praise to God Most High. Blessed is God and deserving of blessing. In great joy, Moses, Miriam, and Israel responded with song to you, all of them proclaiming, Mi chamocha, page 466.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטע בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטע בקודש, נורת תהילות עושה פלא, נורת תהילות עושה פלא, שירה חדשה, שיר לכו גאולים לשמך שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צורו ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ובטח עמך יהודה וישראל גאלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל יאללה 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 ברוך אתה אדוני גואל Israel. We continue with the Amidah, beginning on page 468. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, קומא חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד אתה, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, לחיי הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue silently with the rest of the Amidah.
Shalom. Amen. After the Misha Barrel, we're doing Aleinu. Yeah. Or we end our prayers for the Amidah with a blessing for peace, Sim Shalom, which can be found on page 490.
Sim Shalom, Tova, Uvracha, Sim Shalom, Tova, Uvracha. Chen v'chesed berachamim, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Amecha, Sim Shalom, Tova, Uvracha, Sim Shalom, Tova, Uvracha.
We add to our prayers a blessing for well-being, a mishaberach, for those in need of healing of body, of soul, those who are suffering from addictions, those who hold grief in their hearts. Mishaberach can be found on page 371. If there's a name you would like to mention please feel free.
Jonathan Brother Casey. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Before we enter the Yizkor part of our service, we will do the Aleinu, page 588. We think about a time when our world will be at one, when we won't need prayers for healing. Please God, may it be soon. Aleinu, page 588.
86.
Okay.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad.
You may be seated. Three times a year, in addition to Yom Kippur, we turn our thoughts to those who we want to remember. It's interesting that in the midst of the joy of a holiday, with whatever theme that holiday holds, we bring ourselves down in the midst of all that is beautiful. It's somewhat like at a wedding where this joyous occasion has that moment of shattering a glass, with one of its themes being that no matter how joyful we are feeling in the moment, there's always someone who is worse off than ourselves. And so on this Shavuot day, we turn our thoughts to those who we are remembering, singly, individually, as well as communally. And so we begin our Yizkor service on page 578 with Shiviti. I am ever mindful of Adonai's presence. God is at my right hand. I shall never be shaken.
Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid ki mimini balemot lachen samach libi ויגל כבודי, אף בשרי ישכון לבטח. כי לא תעזוב נפשי לשאול, לא תיתן חסידך לראות שחט. תודיעני אור החיים, אור החיים. שובע שמחות את פניך, נימות בימינך לנצח. שיביתי אדוני לנגדי תמיד, כי מימיני בא למות.
Chag Sameach.
חג שמח.
From its beginning, Jewish literature has focused intently on the subject of memory. Judaism embraces the idea of collective memory with the Torah's often repeated rationale, because we were slaves in Egypt, which draws on collective memory to promote moral behavior. The assertion that we all stood during the revelation at Mount Sinai is a profound statement that all Jews are bound together in a shared autobiographical experience. This focus on communal memory makes the Yizkor, or memorial ceremony, all the more striking. For Yizkor is the one moment in the Jewish liturgical calendar when what matters is not communal, but individual memory. Each of us standing personally consumed by singular memories of relatives and friends who have died. Unlike a funeral or Shiva, where individual memories are shared publicly to fashion a collective mosaic of the person being remembered, Yizkor provides a communal space for inward memorializing. I'd like to share a story. Kevin holds up a painting, much like this. It's filled with lots of dots. I painted this because I felt like the play I was in was about life. And life is full of color. And we each get to come along and we add our own color to the painting. And even though it's not very big, the painting, we still have to figure it goes on forever, in each direction. So like to infinity, because that's kind of like life. It's really crazy if you think about it, isn't it? That 100 years ago, some guy that I never knew came to this country with a suitcase. He has a son who has a son who is me. So at first when I was painting, I was thinking, maybe up here, that was that guy's part of the painting. And then down here, that's my part of the painting. And then I started to think, what if we're all in this painting everywhere? What if we're in the painting before we're born? What if we're in the painting after we die? And these colors that we keep adding, what if they keep getting added on top of one another until eventually we're not even different colors anymore? We're just one thing, one painting. And my dad is not with us anymore. He's not alive, but he's with us. He's with me every day. It all just sort of fits somehow, even if you don't understand how yet. People will die in our lives. People that we love in the future, maybe tomorrow, maybe years from now. It's kind of beautiful if you really think about it. The fact that just because someone dies, just because you can't see them or talk to them anymore, it doesn't mean they're not still in the painting. I think maybe that's the point of the whole thing. There's no dying. There's no you, me, or them. It's just us. And this sloppy, wild, colorful, magical thing that has no beginning and no end, that's right here, I think it's us. The story was actually a speech given by the character Kevin on This Is Us, the television show that just ended. And it was how Kevin described the life of his siblings, his parents, and his world. Yizkor encourages an evolution of our own private, ongoing relationships. Each time we recite the prayers of Yizkor and remember, we deepen the parts of that relationship that sustains us. On a daily basis, and what allows us to carry on with our lives, is that we successfully forget most of the mundane details of our encounters with others. Much of the time, we focus instead on the level of experiencing people as whole human beings, losing the detail, and we gain in richness and depth, much like the way the colors blend in a painting to create an image rather than individual parts. In like manner, after a loved one dies, through the evolving experience of Yizkor, we are able to focus on his or her essence. According to Joshua Ford, a contender in the 2009 USA Memory Championships, how our brain processes memories facilitates this ability. The fading, mutating, and disappearance of memories over time, says Ford, happens in the brain at the cellular level. As memories are being recalled during our individual recitation of Yizkor, our brain cells actually change. And so, even though we can no longer have an actual relationship with the people we have lost, we can have a dynamic and changing relationship through the memory of them. And in this way, our memories of our loved ones literally keep them alive. And so, as we now turn to our Yizkor prayers, we think about the essence of the human beings. We tend to forget the mundane, but we remember the essence of who they were, how they touched us, and how we keep them alive through the way they would have us live our lives. I'd like to open the conversation now with a little sharing. And Aiden, if you have some microphones, I was going to do that before services started, and I forgot. But thinking about the essence of your loved one or loved ones, thinking about what keeps them alive for you on a daily basis. Probably wasn't the way they brushed their teeth or combed their hair. Or maybe it was. But what was the essence that you remember that brings you comfort, or a lesson that you live your life by because of what their lessons were? As soon as we get a microphone. Here comes Aiden. Yay. Do you have something to share while the microphones are going around?
Well, the closest family member I've lost recently was my family's dog Mojito, but you don't say Yizkor for animals. But that's what's on my mind.
No problem. Somebody like to share? Nobody? Go ahead.
actually the Yizkor from my beloved husband, Stan Pesner.
Wait a minute, it's not on.
What?
I don't think you're on. Try again.
This is the actual Yizkor from my beloved husband, Stan Pesner, who died on the 12th of June, just 3 years ago. We were married in our 65th year, and I met him when I was actually 17 years, 1 month into 17, my second day of college. And so he's still watching for me, and I'm waiting, still expecting him to come walking back in. Can't help myself.
Exactly.
And then my brother, Howard Goldman, who was 18 months younger than me, and he died in a plane crash when he was 62 years old. So that's, lost to me. Plus my parents, Sam and Laura Goldman, my in-laws, Nell and Hy Pesner. And there's plenty more relatives, but I think I should let someone else share.
Test. Okay, you have to hold it up to your mouth. So, my father taught me, this is one of the biggest lessons he ever taught me. When you erase something, make sure you erase it completely. He was the manager of a shoe store, and he would bring home the bookkeeping to do, and he had big ledgers that he had to, this was before computers, of course, big ledgers that he had to fill out, and he had the most beautiful handwriting. And I would watch him erase with this pencil, and the image was completely erased. And for some reason, that became real important to me as I went through school, that if you're going to erase, make sure it's gone. And every time we read the story of Amalek about blotting out his name, I think about my father and blotting out images on that ledger. Became a really important lesson. Someone else. Elaine.
I'm not going to stand.
No, don't.
Can you hear? I don't know.
It has to be real close to your face.
mouth.
It has to
Real
be-
close.
Like
Yeah.
this?
Yes. And then also, Aiden.
I don't think it's on.
1 second.
Here.
Try the other one.
Oh, I just touched something.
There you go.
Does this work?
Yeah.
I
Just
don't-
keep talking.
Keep talking.
Aiden will raise
Adjust.
or lower the sound as needed.
Does it work now? I
Yes.
don't hear that it's
I hear it. You just
good.
have
Okay,
to keep.
because I'm deaf. This is a time of the year when, even before Chaim, I think of my parents and my grandparents. I think of my grandparents, which are the furthest away from me, having to come to this country, working hard, adapting to a country where they didn't know their language. They were survivors, so that the next generation would do better than them, which were my parents. And each of them came from difficult backgrounds because of that survival. And yet, when they got married, they made a conscious decision to change the script. And they made a decision that they were going to create the kind of family that they didn't have, and that my brother and I talk about it all the time, that we were the recipients of that change of script. I never saw my parents fight. Now, that was not really realistic, because when I married my husband, oh my God, the reality hit back in, and I said, oh my God, the first week of marriage, I said, it's over, it's over. It was not, but in terms of, I guess, the base of the sense of security of being raised in that kind of family has carried me through, and I know that it's carried my brother through. And we talk about it constantly, how blessed we were. And what I received from that, my father believed in the underdog. And he was always there for those people that had less than him. So I learned, even though it wasn't in a religious sense, the concept of tzedakah was always a part of my life because he was always doing or giving. From my mother, who became involved in community life, not religious, but raising money for what was then Sinai Hospital before it became Cedar Sinai. And they raised money so that that hospital would provide for people in the Los Angeles area. So I received a lot of messages, though the Jewish part of the message wasn't the religious aspect, but certainly the cultural aspect. And then I got married, and I had my own family. And then it's 8 years ago on Yom Yerushalayim, which was last Sunday. It's hard to believe that it's been 8 years. And I do feel Chaim's, actually I feel my parents and my grandparents, because I have pictures of all of them as I go through my house, and they are ever present in my life because of the lessons that I learned. And so they really had, they've left physically, but not spiritually or emotionally, the gifts that I received. So that's, and I tried to emulate in some way those positive values that I received from my parents to my children. I think they got it.
I think so. Let's hope.
That's next.
Someone else?
Somebody want to share?
Someone else?
No. Brave people.
I
Somebody
have
on-
something.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to get
yeah,
to them
on Zoom.
too. Thank you. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
Okay. Did anybody on Zoom want to
Someone on Zoom?
share?
We can unmute and
No?
can you, if you raise your hand, we can unmute you.
Okay. No, I don't see. No.
Nobody?
No. Okay.
Okay, Gabrielle. Yes.
I've been thinking a lot about my grandfather on my father's side. His name was Gerald, and I never knew him. He died, I think, a year before I was born. But since the day I was born, I have seen his impact on the world, and it's been incredible. My grandfather was the original treasurer for the McDonald's company, and he helped found and funded, and he founded the Ronald McDonald House charity. And the more I go out in the world, the more people who I see who have been able to use the Ronald McDonald House, and it has helped them through the most difficult times when they've had loved ones in the hospital, and it just makes me so happy to see how far his reach has gone. And even though I never met him, I do hope to carry on his legacy of helping everyone in need.
Yeah, that just makes me think that a person's far-reaching effect on the world isn't always known. Most people would never have even known his name, and yet look what he was able to do. The Talmud teaches us that if you save one life, you save the world. Look what he did and what you are doing. True. Anyone else? If not, we take a moment. You can use the texts on page 580 and 81, or just a moment of silence to bring to mind, in your mind's eye, somebody or a group of people who were standing at the foot of Mount Sinai with us. Oh, Aiden, can you read what's in the...
Do you want me to read what's in the chat?
Okay.
Do you want me to read what's in the chat?
What is in the chat box? Can you
Okay.
read? Are there memories?
Yes.
Okay.
Mitch says, my Bubby and Zadie's
can't hear you.
commitment to a Jewish life, my mother's commitment. Can you not hear me out there?
No.
Is this better?
Nope.
They're muted. That's the problem.
No.
No,
Aiden's
Aiden's
trying.
reading their comments.
No.
Can you hear me now?
That's better. A little
Better? Okay. Zoom can hear me all right?
Yeah.
But
go
you
ahead.
guys out there can't hear me.
Just speak up.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So Mitch says, my Bubby and Zadie's commitment to a Jewish life, my mother's commitment to volunteerism, and my recently departed mother-in-law's infectious laugh when trying to tell a joke, and her impeccable, always look good in public persona. Elaine's grandparents did some business with my Bubby and Zadie in Denver in the 1920s.
And Gabrielle's mother wrote something?
Yes. Gabrielle is named after her grandfather, Gershon. He lives on in Gabrielle and would be so proud of her commitments and her accomplishments and her commitment to God. And then Ronnie said, my mother had a beautiful operatic voice and sang to us all the time. My father skipped 4 grades in school and was very intelligent and serious. They were very devoted to me and my brother and sister and family, and I think of them every day.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of lives to remember, a lot of beauty added to the world. We take a moment now for Silent Yizkor, pages 580 and 581. May God remember forever our loved ones who have gone to their eternal rest. May they be at one with the one who is life eternal. May the beauty of their lives shine forevermore, and may our lives always bring honor to their memory. And may God remember forever our brothers and sisters of the house of Israel who gave their lives for the sanctification of the divine name. May they be at one with the one who is eternal life. May the beauty of their lives shine forevermore, and may our lives always bring honor to their memory. We follow the text on page 583 with beautiful song, We Remember.
In the rising of the sun, we remember. In the blowing of the wind, we remember. In the opening of buds, we remember. We remember. In the blueness of the sky, we remember. In the rustling of the leaves, we remember. As the year starts and it ends, we remember. We remember. When we're weary and need strength, we remember. When we're lost and sick at heart, we remember. When we've joys we yearn to share, we remember. We remember. So long as we live, they too shall live. They as we remember, we remember, we remember.
I invite you to rise, either in body or in spirit, for the El Malei Rachamim, page 582.
El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bameramim, Hametzim Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanevi Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Uteharim, Kezahar Arakia, Mazirim, Linishmat Yakirenu, Shechalchu Le'olamam, Balarachamim, Yastirim Beseter Knafav Le'olamim, V'yitzra Chayim et Nishmatam, Adonai hu nachalatam, Vayenuchu b'shalom al mishkavam, V'nomar Amen.
Fully compassionate God on high, to our loved ones who have entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. They will rest in peace. And we say together, Amen.
Amen.
We continue with the Kaddish on page 598. If you are in the first 7 days of mourning and you would like to remember someone in particular, you may say their names or write them in the chat boxes. If you're in the first month, the 30 days, please feel free to mention the name. If you're in the first year of mourning, please feel free to add the name of your loved one. If you're observing a Yortzeit this week, please stand Behesner. And anybody else who would like to mention the name of a loved one, please feel free. We join together on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lan me'al maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei kudusha brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlomo Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who sends peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as we say, Amen.
Amen.
Our tradition tells us that we cannot say Kaddish if we don't have a minyan together, if we don't have a quorum. Kaddish is one time when we need community, and how beautiful it is for us to all be here together on this Shavuot day. And so we end our service with Hine Ma Tov, how good and how beautiful it is for brothers and sisters to dwell together.
Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Chag
Chag
Sameach, Shavua Tov. Beautiful.
Thank you, our congregation, our Zoom congregation, our YouTube congregation, our Facebook congregation. Thank you for joining
Our
us.
Zoom congregation.
Zoom congregation. Chag Sameach.